I don't have a problem with the WNBA players asking for a raise. The WNBA is on a hot streak. I don't care about the previous 24, 25 years. As an investment, it's starting to pay off. And so this week they wore T-shirts saying, you know, making a statement, you better pay us. But instead of just leaving it at that, Kelsey Plum for LA had to take a dig at Caitlin Clark.
The WNBA is finally standing at the crossroads of a revolution it has long dreamed of. For over 25 years, the league struggled to break even, barely keeping the lights on. Players endured brutal travel schedules, flying budget airlines, paying for water on planes, playing in echoing half-empty arenas where you could count the rows of empty seats. Jerseys were hard to find, sponsors were scarce, media coverage was often an afterthought. But suddenly, almost overnight, the league has momentum. Big money is entering the picture. Arenas are selling out.
Just united front was determined this morning that we had a meeting for, and you know, not to tattletale, but 0 members of Team Clark were very present for that.
Oh boy.
Merchandise is flying off shelves. TV ratings are shattering records. And standing at the center of this tidal wave is Caitlin Clark, a rookie who has already done more to transform the WNBA in a few months than decades of committees, campaigns, and slogans ever did. Think everyone in the league would recognize what she's done. You'd think they'd support her. You'd think they'd rally around her. Instead, some are turning on her. This past week, WNBA players wore shirts demanding.
But why do you take a shot at the Golden Goose, Caitlin Clark? You guys were flying before she arrived on one of those airlines that made you pay for a cup of water. One of those airlines that is the planes are the color of a highlighter. Now you're flying private. Okay, if you're in a band and you're staying at the Motel 6 and you add a band member and now you're at the Ritz-Carlton, keep your issues to yourself. All right? You went from a Motel 6 in a sketchy part of town to a Four Seasons in the shopping district. Stop talking.
Better pay. The shirts read, "You better pay us." Fair enough. Nobody denies they deserve more. The league finally has leverage. The business is improving. The fans are showing up. And when you're winning, you deserve to get paid. But then came the moment that revealed the cracks. Kelsey Plum, one of the league's established veterans, decided to take a shot. Instead of simply advocating for higher pay and better conditions, she went on record throwing shade at Caitlin Clark, saying no one from Team Clark showed up to a players' meeting. The implication was clear.
I don't mind the T-shirts. I think you have leverage. I think you deserve more than 9%. But it's just misstep after misstep. It's time to grow up, girls. Like fast. Like this is the player that got you off the airline that was bright yellow. Right? She got you an upgrade to a better hotel as a band member.
Clark doesn't care about the rest of the players. That's when Colin Cowherd stepped in and absolutely dismantled the narrative on one segment. He laid bare what's really going on inside the WNBA, a toxic mix of jealousy, insecurity, and hypocrisy among veterans who owe their newfound success to the very player they're attacking. Cowherd's main point was brutal and unmissable for decades.
I think they deserve a big raise, maybe not 50% of revenues, because NBA stars, there's a lot of them, and they move the needle. The WNBA stars, well, there's one that moves the needle. And here's the other thing to remember. Caitlin Clark's already rich. She made $11 million this year alone in endorsements off the court. So regardless of how these negotiations go, she's set. Nobody else is, right? So when somebody joins the band and everything gets upgraded, just be happy.
NBA players said the league was underpromoted, underappreciated, and undervalued, that they just needed someone to believe in them. And then when Caitlin Clark came along and proved that the league could draw, could fill arenas, could move merch, could drive ratings instead of gratitude, they gave her grief. Let's Talk about the numbers. Since Clark's arrival, merchandise sales are up 500%. League attendance has jumped over 40%. Some cities now have waiting lists for season tickets. TV ratings have doubled when she plays. Sponsors are pouring money into the league. Social media engagement is higher than it has ever been. The Indiana Fever, once the league's biggest financial black hole, is now the hottest ticket in the league. So why? Cowherd asked. Would the players turn on the one person who's responsible for all of it? He compared it to being in a struggling band playing.
I know you wanted your song to be the first one they played. You wanted to make up the set. I mean, it's not the t-shirts. You're gonna do fine. I'd scale back on the Caitlin Clark angst.
Out of a Motel 6. Then a new member joins and suddenly you're staying at the Ritz-Carlton, but you complain about their singing, that it makes no sense. The resentment runs deep when All-Star voting was announced. Fans ranked Clark first. Coaches placed her high as well. But her fellow players, they ranked her ninth. That wasn't a basketball evaluation, that was a popularity contest. That was personal. That it's not hard to see what's really going on. For years, the league was filled with players who were the best, but in a league nobody watched. Now, suddenly, one rookie comes in and makes everyone pay attention, and it makes them look ordinary by comparison. Cowherd compared Clark's situation to Michael Jordan's early years in the NBA. When Jordan entered the league, veteran players resented his attention. They hit him hard, voted him down, tried to humble him. The Pistons even invented the Jordan rules, a strategy of fouling him mercilessly to knock him off his game. Clark is facing her own version of the Jordan rules: hard fouls, cheap shots, excessive contact, targeting during games, being voted down by her peers despite clear evidence of her impact. And just like Jordan, Clark doesn't flinch. She gets.
Caitlin Clark finished 9th in player voting. In fact, she finished behind one of her own teammates in player voting for the All-Star game. The pettiness has no bounds. But it's interesting, for years, the WNBA players were pointing fingers. They were saying people are sexist, the media is sexist, we're not being promoted, we're underappreciated. And then they get the golden goose and they don't like what it looks like.
Up, drains another 3, and talks right back. What did the Bulls do when they saw how physical the league was with Jordan? They brought in Charles Oakley, an enforcer, to protect their star. What did the Fever do? They traded for Sophie Cunningham, one of the most physical players in the league, and a black belt in martial arts, to protect Clark. This isn't a coincidence. That's the organization saying, we know what we have here, and we're going to protect it at all costs. Because
Iowa girl, Indiana girl. Well, who knows, and I've said this for years, when the wave hits, ride it. You don't know what it looks like. Don't fight it. When Puka Nacua went in the 5th round of the Rams and they suddenly in camp went, oh, we just found a new #1 receiver. He's better than Cooper Kupp. They didn't fight it. Did you think when you watched Tom Brady at the Combine, that looked like the GOAT? They had just signed Drew Bledsoe to a $103 million contract. That was a lot of money back then. And then a year in, they're like, we're going to go with Brady. They didn't fight it.
Make no mistake, Caitlin Clark isn't just a great player. She's the WNBA's golden goose. Cowherd pointed out the absurdity of biting the hand that feeds you. For decades, players claimed they were victims of an unfair system, underpaid, undervalued. Then Clark came along and transformed the system overnight, and instead of gratitude, they're trying to sabotage her. It's short-sighted, it's petty, and it's self-defeating. The players who embrace Clark, like Lexi Holt, Aaliyah Boss, and Kelsey Mitchell, they understand what's at stake. They're riding the wave. They're collaborating instead of competing, and history will remember them fondly for it. The players resisting her, history will forget them. This is bigger than one player. This is about the future of the league itself. Cal explained that generational talents don't come around often. In sports history, it happens once every few decades. Jordan for the NBA, Tiger for golf, Serena for tennis, LeBron for basketball. Now Clark for the WNBA. These athletes arrive and change everything. They bring in audiences who never cared before. They force leagues to evolve. They expose weaknesses. They raise the bar. Every time,
There's obviously a racial component here. The WNBA players, they just don't like what the wave looks like. They wanted to fly private. They wanted to be more popular. They wanted a better deal in the CBA, which they'll get. They wanted sold out arenas. They got it. They don't necessarily think it should be this. But again, you can't fight it. You just never know what success looks like.
Veterans fight it. When Jordan showed up, players dismissed him as a flashy scorer. When LeBron showed up, veterans questioned his maturity. When Tiger dominated golf, the old guard tried to downplay his impact. But eventually, everyone had to acknowledge their greatness. Clark is on that same path, and the league needs to recognize that this is just the beginning. Cowherd argued that the Clark we're seeing now is the worst she'll ever be. She's adjusting to the speed and physicality of the game. She's learning how to handle double teams and cheap shots, but she's already the most impactful player in the league. Imagine what she'll be like in 3 years. Cowherd also called out the officials for not protecting her enough, just like officials in the 80s let Jordan take unnecessary abuse. The league eventually had to adjust to protect its stars, because without them, the league suffers. The WNBA needs to make the same adjustments. Cowherd summed it up. The future of the WNBA runs through Caitlin Clark, whether the veterans like it or not, and the league is now divided into two camps, those riding the wave to success, and those standing on the shore, arms crossed, watching the wave pass them by. The players who ride it, the Hulls, the Mitchells, the Bostons, they'll have careers boosted by association. The ones who resist, they'll fade into irrelevance. Warned the league, this might be your only chance to break through into mainstream sports culture. Sold-out games can become the norm. National sponsors can start writing serious checks. Networks can fight over broadcast rights. Young girls can grow up wearing WNBA jerseys because their heroes play in that league. But only if the players stop fighting each other and start working together. Caitlin Clark is not just part of the WNBA's future, she is the future. And every veteran needs to decide right now, do you want to win or do you want to be right? Because you can't have both. Cowherd closed his argument with a brutal truth. The WNBA is hotter than it's ever been, and the entire league owes that to Caitlin Clark. She's the reason the money is flowing. She's the reason the fans are here. She's the reason the media cares. Stop biting the hand that feeds you. You wanted a superstar. You wanted attention. You wanted respect. Well, here she is. Don't screw it up. This is her league now. And the faster everyone realizes that, the brighter the future will be.